Welcome to DC On Screen, a podcast about the DC Universe properties being brought to film and television. I am your host, David C. Robertson, and this, as always, is my faithful co-host, Jason.
Hello.
Today, we are jumping right into The Dark Knight, our Dark Knight review. Christian Bale, Morgan Freeman, Heath Ledger, you know the one. Christopher Nolan's
It made
Empire Strikes Back.
1.008 billion worldwide. If you don't know which one we're talking about, God help you.
God help you. Or Constantine at the very least.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're very excited about John Constantine coming back on Arrow, so we're probably going to keep mentioning Constantine for no damn reason.
I'm going to try not to. I'm going to make a conscious effort to go Constantine-free for at least another hour and a half. I'm going to make a conscious effort.
All right. That might be fair. Yeah. All right, so...
I'll try. I can only promise that.
Right out of the gate, I'm a little concerned because after we get like a million freaking things showing like production houses and stuff showing up on as this movie starting, we just see a blue burning bat and then into the film. I don't intend to destroy this movie.
I don't know if it can be fully destroyed. The thing has like a 96% rating on RT.
Yeah, I don't agree with that rating.
I'm sure you don't, but... And I'll say this outright before I start talking about the movie. I'm going to try to do two things. One, I'm going to try to defend it from you.
Right.
Because someone has to. And two, I'm going to be doing my own damage probably. But all of it will be in the context that I did really love this movie. I own about 7 DVDs. I don't even know.
You do.
I don't even know what they are. I basically own Iron Man, The Dark Knight,
right, you do.
Shaun of the Dead, and Hot Fuzz.
And the Avengers. You have that on Blu-ray.
I do
and
have
DVD.
the Avengers. But the point is, unless you're Edgar Wright,
right.
who has an exemption, it takes a lot for me to actually go out and buy your DVD. I will support the crap out of you by watching at the appropriate times. I'll be there. I'll have my ass in a seat on the opening weekend. But the DVD sales, I'm not helping with. This one made it to my shelf, man.
Yeah, and you may have been wrong.
I was not completely wrong. No, trust me, there's problems because it is a movie, and it's a movie based on a comic book, and those are hard things to get flawlessly done correctly. But damn, they did a good job. Now I'm going to proceed to tell them what they did a bad job with.
Yeah. So this opening heist, man, I mean, it's a lot to take in. I couldn't help but wonder. Like, it all seemed cool on the onset, but
now,
I couldn't help but
if you watched
wonder.
this film this film was released in IMAX, the first one to actually try to do it as a feature film, and God help, I never watched it in IMAX, but you say a lot to take in as a band. Come on,
yeah.
Imagine if you. Yeah, it's a lot to take in. I thought it was a great scene, though.
I just kept wondering why none of these goons got suspicious that they're going to be taken out by the next criminal, because every guy like shoots the guy he's with. Right. Like there's always one guy in the two-man group that shoots the other guy. The Joker told him to shoot that guy. Like do they not have any idea that like none of them really? The only one of them got wise.
Right.
At the very end and like pulls the gun on
who
winds up being
one
the
of them
Joker,
got wise and tried to do something about it because he got wise in time. The other one, a couple of them kind of realized, no, just at the last second. I thought it was kind of fun. I really did. He does. He sets it up. He plans it. We'll go into that later. So that everyone completes the task they need to complete before offing the previous person. It's really gorgeous. Right. As a heist scheme, it's a gorgeous tactic.
It's okay. I enjoy the concept, but I was a little confused as to how that would actually work.
Oh, it's simple though. You just tell you go to each person, tell them how much money they'll get if they just kill that one guy, and you make them feel like they're the only person you've talked to about this.
Right.
No big deal.
Yeah. Now, what's weird to me though is like, why does in the bank when the dude comes out, you have no idea who you're dealing with, blah blah blah. And he's shooting these goons and whatnot. Joker basically uses him to kill the one of the other goons. Then shoots the dude, and what did he put in his mouth? Dynamite? Was that what that was?
No. It was just it was just like a tear bomb, like tear gas.
Why didn't the dude spit it out or take it out? His hands weren't tied.
No, his hands were pretty much defunct. He had been shot up the left side, I think it was. He had been basically shot up one side. And they make it very clear while he's lying on the ground that whatever it was that got shot was in charge of moving that side of his body. I actually liked that part because it was more realistic gun damage. You know, you may not be dead yet, but that arm's not doing anything useful for a little while, buddy.
Right. Now, I guess it wouldn't be too big of a stretch to think that in Gotham, because you see that the guy that winds up becoming the Joker, you see him standing on the street corner holding a duffel bag with the mask off. I'm assuming he didn't wait to get into the heist to put on that makeup. So I'm just guessing that in Gotham it's okay to be standing there with a duffel bag with your face painted like a clown.
In Gotham, that's called Tuesday.
Okay. That's what I was going for. That's what I was hoping for.
I just assumed that everyone strolled right by and went, "Oh, what an odd bird," and moved on with their day.
All right, so Gordon's shining the bat signal, even though the mayor is on a mission to take Batman down. He is assigned a task force, and they're investigating Batman. And you can very clearly see that none of these cops actually want to take down Batman.
No, they're doing their job. Fuck it.
Sitting there, like, throwing pieces of paper at, the suspect board that has Abraham Lincoln on it.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't... They have more time to get out there and take bribes while he's doing their job. It's
right.
fine.
It did bother me that, like, why wouldn't the mayor realize that there was a giant bat signal on the roof? And then, like, later on, Harvey mentions it to Gordon. He's like, "Oh, I mean, it's a defective searchlight. That's your jurisdiction. I mean, you need to fix that."
Right.
But, I sort of I don't know. I kind of wish they had done something else with that, or something a little better. I don't know.
That was fine. They just gave it this tone that that said that everyone roughly realizes that if someone were to ask, that they need to be investigating this officially, but they've put clearly their two most lackadaisical cops on that mission and busted searchlight. They're not even trying to come up with an explanation. Like, no one in here has a fuck. They're just happy he's out there.
Now we're going to get to a real problem of mine. In The Dark Knight, there's a drug deal a drug deal has gone wrong. Some guy is pissed off because Scarecrow has been selling some drugs to these guys, and it's turning everyone crazy. They're going mad with fear, and
just what the hell did you expect to get from Scarecrow?
Sure.
Right.
So all of a sudden,
that's on you, Russian dude.
A bunch of fake-ass Batmen come out, and they're fighting the Scarecrow and these goons. And then Batman shows up. Like, he has no consideration for anyone's, like, private property. Batman has the Batmobile, like, plow through, like... I don't even know how he got up there. I guess by jumping across rooftops.
Right. It has previously been established that the Tumbler can jump through rooftops and even aim the Tumbler pretty well while doing it. So
destroys a couple of cars popping up there.
Oh yeah.
Goes into intimidate mode and blows the hell out of the place. Like cars,
whole parking garage with a bunch of people who are apparently at work real late. I don't know.
And this is to intimidate.
I mean, I suppose it worked.
I kind of feel like Batman is better than that. Like, why is he not just... And he's not even in the damn car. Like, he's using it as a distraction method. Like, none of that was... Like, he's already got bat fakes running around shooting. He can use them as... Oh, man. Well, he doesn't have them.
No, he does. There is no regard for the personal property of Gotham's average citizen in this film. I mean, through the series, he flies over rooftops. He does... I mean, God, the amount of work it would require to redo all the tiles on that one roof. That was expensive work. No, and in this one of my favorite bits is when he's on the Bat Pod. I think that's what they called it, right? When he's on his little not motorcycle. He's swerving in through in between the lanes of traffic, and just to his left and right, he's just taking off rear view mirrors left and right. Seems a little dicky.
Yeah.
He does.
There's so much. Yeah, there's so much property damage, and what's more is like he doesn't even know that like there are just lines of cars there. You can't tell that someone's definitely not in those cars that he's blowing up. Like I don't know. I don't like that. Like, why would he do that? Okay. All right. So next note I have. Oh, by the way, I'm not wearing hockey pads. Awful line.
Oh,
awful line.
Although it was a pretty decent retort. What makes you different from me? I'm not the one wearing hockey pads. I don't know. I can get behind that. I thought it was a pretty quick retort. I thought it was actually pretty succinct. I was good with it. And it did me the favor of not being as bad as the lines in Begins, where the nice coat and you know how to drive stick, because they had a habit of getting out of action scenes, getting in and out of scenes with those bad lines in Batman Begins, and I appreciated the fact that there weren't any of those little pullaways in Dark Knight.
Yeah. Speaking of bad lines, why is Bruce Wayne retarded in this movie?
He's only retarded for some of the movie.
When they go to Hong Kong and Lucius is like explaining the sonar technology, and he's like, "Oh, sonar, like a
Yeah. Oh, a submarine.
Yeah.
That's clearly what you meant. Yeah. All right. So, putting aside the world's greatest detective part, because that obviously wasn't meant to be implied in this series of films.
It was not.
Putting that aside, Bruce is still supposed to be pretty clever. And at the very least, pretty familiar with bats. How in the name of all hell does he misplace the word bat mentally? And he says as though that's in the fucking script. Someone wrote the idea of Bruce Wayne forgetting the word bat and kept their job, presumably.
It's not even continuity. It's like canonically in this trilogy. Like in the first movie, they are able to wax philosophically with no uhs about fear and justice.
You've completely missed the diction of the previous films. These people, everyone here has a philosophy major. Everyone.
In this movie, Bruce can't remember the word bat.
Yeah, and the funny part is it breaks from character. This Bruce in this movie is actually, he's kind of suave. He's actually a little fun to watch every now and then. He did a pretty good job with Bruce most of the time. But then he gets to this scene, and for some reason, when he's talking to Lucius, he goes into like Keanu Reeves mode. It sounds like Ted being given a cool little gift. I was waiting for him to go whoa at the end of the whole thing. It was frustratingly different than anything else in the film.
No, at this point though, it's not only bad that Bruce can't remember the word bat in that scene. It's also bad that Lucius is like, submarine? Why, yes, Mr. Wayne. Like, why are you keeping up this front? Like, you are looking at Batman armor. You are giving him Batman armor in this movie, telling him, like, you know, the worst part is you can be shot or you can be stabbed with it. Like, okay.
Yeah, we've got... They've long since... Well, at no point in their whole relationship have they ever pretended that Lucius doesn't actually know what's going on. So I guess that's what their whole plan was to keep up the appearances of him at least.
But no one's sitting around listening to them.
But no, they're in Hong Kong. No one can understand what they're saying anyway. They're like sitting in a quiet space outside of a busy building in the middle of a work day. No one fucking cares what those two are talking about. No one's listening. There are no paparazzi there.
It's like some Chinese guy is just looking over going, oh, I bet that's Batman and his friend who makes all of his toys. No.
That's not what's happening. No one's doing that. And I
knew it.
And I'm sure they were just trying to keep the line up and everything, but it would have been a much better scene if he had said, you know, it's designed like this, it has sonar, and you just go back to Bruce, who like raises his eyebrow and smirks, and then Lucius smiles, and they go about their day. Little quick inside joke, we all get it. You said sonar. It's a Batman movie.
We know.
We know. And he does
I'm serious, man. I have very much lost faith in the intelligence of humanity.
You say lost as though you were fully supportive.
I ever had it? Right. Well, you know, the more I meet people, the more I lose that faith. So
that often is the equation.
Right. So, yeah.
And it's not going to help if once we get to Dark Knight Rises, that's not going to help.
All right, so the whole time they've realized that this dude Lau is cooking his books and whatnot. He's involved in some dirty deeds. This guy Lau, who is he's wanting to do like a deal with Wayne Corp, and so they realize, okay, he's bad news. And then Lau leaves the country, and Batman. Like, they decide that the way to get Lau back is for Batman to use a thing called Operation, Operation Skyhook.
Yes.
Why does Batman not have a Batwing?
Why
are we using some old-ass white giant plane with a balloon on it?
Right. That apparently they had to film very quickly because the residents of, and they did film in Hong Kong, and apparently the The local municipality gave him a bunch of shit about it being noise pollution and too distracting, and then had environmentalist concerns because which in China is a real problem. One of the problems was the filmmakers had asked people to keep their lights on in the high rises at night while they were filming to give it a better shot. And it does. It looks better when cities are all lit up. They protested about that. Didn't like the use of energy or the waste of energy. They kind of got in there, started the film, and I think generally found the entire experience was unpleasant and got it done as soon as they could and got the hell out.
Okay, what part of that would not have been made simpler by just having a black, nondescript stealth plane of some sort that Lucius says, yeah, we was messing around with it for the military, but then that didn't happen. Okay, cool.
I don't know.
Stealth that shit in, CGI that shit in, and get the hell out. Like
my only possible guess is that Mattel told them they couldn't use the plane until the third movie.
I don't get this feels like a Christopher Nolan thing. This feels like oh no, he can't have a bat plane. That's crazy. He just like he can't have a Batmobile. It's got to be like an army thing, and we got to call it the Tumbler. Like yeah, we got to name it after a shitty blog site. Like okay. Well, we can't have a Wingler. That would just be too far. So we've got to have like an old 1960s white giant plane fly in, and Batman, instead of using a cool-ass grappling hook like Batman is wont to do in every iteration of the character, no, he's got to use a giant balloon that freaking inflates from his ass and flies out of a window.
You know what? Here's the thing. None of that bothered me. None of it.
All of that bothered me.
None of it. I didn't miss there being a bat wing. I wasn't pining for that. I wasn't upset that there wasn't already a wing in order. None of that. I wasn't upset.
To be clear,
that there
you
was
don't have to call
plane.
it a bat wing.
Yeah, no. I know you just call it my plane. He'll be fine. Or my jet if you do it right. But none of that got to me. The only thing I didn't like about the scene really, and it's just tangibly awkward. He shoots the flare or whatever it is he's waiting on, but there's a couple seconds before the balloon really lifts them, or before it gets caught, however the hell the contraption works, where he's just standing there and there's like 30 dudes pointing a gun at him, and he's got Lou in front of him as I guess kind of a human shield. But they just stand there awkwardly for about 4 seconds. It's such a weird. It stays on the screen for so long that it took me out for a second. But then we were back and it was good. It was fine.
Yeah, I did not see like how badass would it be? That doesn't take anything away from reality for you to be able to say that Batman has a stealth plane, and that makes more sense than because just like you said, like the Chinese government had such a problem with that big ass white plane and everything. You're telling me they're not saying anything about it in the Nolan universe? We're talking about reality here, Nolan. That's what you keep spewing and
that you're talking
referencing.
About.
Yeah, we're doing reality. This is a grounded Batman. All right, well, they don't have problems with their airspace being invaded over in China in your Nolan verse. I don't.
Yeah,
understand.
now that's the real point for me. I don't care about the plane. I don't care about the skyhook. It seemed. I mean, you're right. It seems a little bit of an unnecessary workaround. But at the end of the day, it was a fun scene where Batman got to go play with some cool toys. He needed to introduce a couple of the toys that he was going to use later anyway. It ended up being a fun scene for me, and I didn't mind. It was pretty good action. I was down with it, especially the jumping off that high rise, the base jumping, swooping around. I kind of thought, fuck yeah, that's what a bat looks like. My problem, he gets back, and everyone accepts Lou, and they're good. That's a fucking war crime, is what it is.
Right.
I'm not sure about the international legality of it, but I'm almost sure that Interpol, FBI, and the Secret Service would be hunting Batman now, because you can't fucking go extradite people from countries that we have non-extradition clauses with. You just can't do that shit.
Well, we have no details on how Mr. Lau got back into the country, but we're glad he's back. And
no, he says I wasn't made aware of his travel plans, but we're glad he's back.
Right.
Which is, you want to go into denial mode, fine, but you're going to probably have to do that in front of a congressional subcommittee, not the local news.
By the way, Alfred, shortly after this scene, makes a crack at how lame Bruce is for trying to impress Rachel. Like when he's throwing the big I believe in Harvey Dent thing. I actually enjoyed that.
Yeah. That's a lot of the Alfred stuff was freaking on point.
Yeah.
My favorite moment though, out of Alfred, out of all of it, is when he's decided he's going to turn himself in, and they're leaving the I don't know, we'll call that a cave for now. The bat white room, whatever.
The white room with the console.
Right.
Whoa, boy, that's a cave.
The giant room with one tiny computer in it. That's hidden somewhere below something. I don't fucking know. But
they never did clear that up.
They never clear up where it is. But as they're leaving the room, they briefly joke that how does he put it? I forget what Alfred teases him with, and he just says, accomplice. I was going to tell him the whole thing was your idea. I liked that camaraderie. It was actually a nice moment, and it was one of the moments where they actually did make me kind of smile a little bit, because I thought it was a nice moment between a couple of guys. But it's the rare moment where something actually did strike me as funny because they earned the joke rather than nice jacket or nice coat.
Yeah.
They had that part right. They finally figured out how to actually get something with some levity in there without it being campy. And if they'd kept that formula the whole time, we'd have been in good shape.
No, I'm going to talk about...
The other one was like Scarecrow pulling up. Not my diagnosis. That one made me laugh when I heard it the first time. They actually did manage to get funny in there a couple times.
That was good. Not my diagnosis was good.
Yeah.
What was weird is it looked like Killian. I've been informed, by the way, that it's Killian Murphy.
Killian Murphy.
Bethany, my girlfriend, is I would say Killian Murphy file. She likes Killian Murphy a fair amount, and she has informed me that it was...
If you call him Killian, what the hell am I supposed to call that beer?
I don't know.
I require an answer. The beer can't be Cillian.
So, let's. They are really uneven with how they wrote Rachel Dawes in this movie. Rachel Dawes...
They're uneven between the two movies, but I liked this in a closed space. I liked this version.
Yeah,
as I've expressed,
just as
the MVP of the film for me is Katie Holmes for not appearing.
Right. She
literally chose
Dawes,
a movie with Queen Latifah over this, by the way. I did look up the timing on it. She literally chose a movie with Queen Latifah over doing The Dark Knight.
Wow.
This is the same man who married Tom Cruise, or woman who married Tom Cruise. What do you want? What do you want? Who heard the entire Tom Cruise Scientology spill and went, I can get on board with that.
But what's weird for me, though, is, between movies, I don't like her character very much in this movie either, because, again, she feels tacked on.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, the first movie, Rachel was very dour and seemed very... She's totally about the justice and the little people and all that stuff. And here she just seems like Gyllenhaal plays her completely differently, with a lot more sass and a lot more I don't know what you would call it.
Playful.
Moxie? Playful? Yeah, that'll work. But one of the outcomes of that playfulness is she totally shrugs off the whole thing where she's with Harvey Dent. She's dating Harvey Dent. Mm-hmm. And dude in the courtroom pulls a gun on him. By the way, I don't know how the hell they got that gun into the courtroom. This is once again the Batman Begins situation. Has Nolan never been in a courtroom? Does he not know that there's security?
There is security.
This dude has
it's
got
a huge deal in the Long Halloween. It's a big deal that they managed to get a little bit of acid into a courtroom.
Right. And in a huge indictment of a mob boss, and the guy who's testifying against him just has a gun on his lap right in front of everyone. Okay. So but he is
the
telling
judge
him,
isn't sitting there going, "What is that you're playing with over there? Oh my, a gun."
Right. Right. But she's like, "Hey, you can't be the district attorney and not have a oh no, if you're not getting shot at, you're not doing your job right."
Which is a bold line.
Yeah.
That line has swagger, is what it has. I like it.
It has swagger, but this is exactly the reason that you didn't want to be with Bruce.
Because he gets shot at a lot. Yeah, Look, I'm not going to say that the story is consistent with Rachel. You can't. It's just not. It's never going to be. She's recast. They basically retooled the entire character. They gave her entirely new priorities. She still has really poor timing about when to kiss Bruce, but that's about the only thing I can see is consistent between the two fucking films.
Right. First movie, she pulls an Oliver, as you stated the other day. She pulls an Oliver, and what we mean by that is Oliver in season 3 of Arrow kisses Felicity and then goes, "I can't be with you."
Right.
She does the same thing to Bruce.
Total dick
Rachel
move.
does the same thing to Bruce. You don't kiss a dude then tell him that you can't be with him. That's messed up.
It's mean. It's not for anyone's benefit. No one wins there. If you're the guy in that situation, you end up looking back and wishing that you had the balls to just walk away.
Right. And then she goes out on the balcony during the Harvey Dent fundraiser. And she's
During
all
the
pissed at
fundraiser.
Bruce. She's all pissed at Bruce. She's like, Harvey doesn't know you well enough to know when you're making fun of him, but I do. And he's
Right.
like, no, I was being genuine. What the hell do you want from me?
Yeah, she comes out there to give him a speech about how well she knows him, and he immediately retorts with, "That wasn't at all what I was saying. What the hell are you talking about?"
And then but he's like, but what I was saying was Harvey is my way out of being Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they kiss. And it's like,
So, yeah.
dude.
On the one hand, Bruce comes up with this giant plan to parlay his Batman persona into the White Knight Harvey Dent, such that he can now bird dog Harvey's girl. And
Right. Bruce is a dick to
Bruce is
district
a dick.
attorneys.
Like this is one of my problems with the film is that it wasn't enough for them to destroy most of the character aspects of Batman that I enjoyed. They had to make him an adulterer as well.
Right?
Bullshit, people. Because
No, I mean, hey.
Rachel goes outside, has this conversation, which she's obviously seriously engaged with Harvey. That's not a conversation you should probably get yourself into in a normal relationship. You try to avoid putting yourself in those positions if you can. So she's already playing with fire when she gets out there. Then she kisses him anyway, and immediately goes inside and half accepts a marriage proposal from Harvey.
Yeah.
Come on, girl, get it together.
Yeah. Now, this is a strange aside, I know, but for anyone who doesn't know, in the comic books and in the animated series, Bruce and Harvey were friends. Dear friends. Very, very close friends. And it's one of those things that has always eaten at Bruce. Maybe even more so than his inability to reform the Joker was his inability to reform Two-Face. Because Harvey and Bruce are like best friends.
Well,
So
there were, in the days before there was a Two-Face, and in Batman trusted exactly 3 people: Alfred,
Right.
Gordon, Dent. That's it. You took away a third of his entire friend group by throwing some acid in his face, and it sucked. It sucked a lot. And he's always missed that. He's always missed that he had someone that he actually trusted, that he was fighting the fight with, and he was doing it the right way, because you had to have somebody in the legislative and somebody in the executive branch of Gotham's government to make any real progress. And actually, one of the things I really loved about this film is, as much as Nolan apparently doesn't understand the aspects of how to get into a courtroom, he does understand that to actually prosecute someone, you have to have someone to press the charges, someone to make the arrest, someone to make the charges stick, and someone to actually rule it. And you do, if you're the Joker, you go blow all those people the fuck up.
Right. Now, you might be asking, well, how that would have fit in? Well, if you tuned into the Batman Begins review, I said they should have replaced Rachel Dawes with Assistant DA Harvey Dent. Well, when you do the flashbacks, you have best friend Harvey Dent, and Bruce's sense of justice has rubbed off on him, and he's trying to get into the system and disagrees with Bruce's vengeance motives.
Well, I would have seen him as
you don't
going
show
from
Bruce going into a courtroom with a gun, but hey,
I would have seen him as, like, say it's Princeton. Say Harvey went to Princeton too. That's where they met. They're good friends, but they haven't started to really take life seriously yet. They're bros, and then you could see him make that transition into taking life more seriously and dealing with real problems of justice. And I'm sure there could be a touching scene where they come back to Gotham and see something that they hadn't seen, and they grow up real quick. It'd be a great scene. Figure the details out as you wish. Plot it yourself. But it would be a fantastic little relationship to have in the bank, and you would have been able to go back to the well for this movie, and it would have given even more heart to the fact that, and it's true, Harvey is the only legitimate story that has an emotional arc in the film.
Right. And
now, that's by design,
to
though.
a large degree.
It's the Joker. You can't have an emotional arc. It's not happening. Unless you're going to kill Sarah Essen at the end of it. This shit ain't happening.
Right. Now, jumping back, we got a little back into the philosophy bullshit when they're at dinner.
I did mean to mention this, though. As far as I remember, I didn't realize this last week when you mentioned it, but when I looked around this week, I think they did talk about having Harvey Dent in the first film. Or I know they did talk about it.
Did they really?
They talked about it, and apparently one of the reasons they didn't want to do it was because it wouldn't do that character justice.
What?
I know, it's a dumb argument. So your plan is, instead of giving him 2 movies to develop, to do him real justice, you're only going to give him 1 movie to develop.
They probably just flipped a coin.
Seriously. They really didn't. I'm sure they were stuck on the idea that if they brought Harvey up, they'd have to do something with him in the first film. Well, no.
No,
You already
don't
knew you
have
were
to make
shooting
him
for a
Two-Face.
trilogy. Just put him in there.
Jeez.
Just
No,
put him
what
in
you do is you introduce him in the first one, you have him become Two-Face in the second one, and then the third one, if you're going to jump 8 years ahead, first of all, you don't have Batman stop being Batman in those 8 years. Second, you actually do. You have reformed Harvey, who's not really reformed. That's what you do. If you're just cutting yourself down to 3 movies, why anyone would say, I'm just going to do 3 movies, but then you're talking about Batman. In my head, this shit should be an HBO series that lasts for 10 years like Game of Thrones or some shit. But
I
hey,
know, but
that's just my personal opinion.
I know.
So,
But
yeah,
Harvey... back in that day, though, we're talking about pre-MCU destroying the previous ideas. So yeah, you're shooting for a trilogy was highfalutin.
I never understood why those ideas were in place anyway. Like, I don't understand why back in, 1977 they weren't thinking about Justice League with Christopher Reeve. I don't understand why they weren't thinking about it with the 89's Batman. I don't understand why they...
No one had proven, and you know how it's a Hollywood rule. It's the whole give me something different but the same kind of thing. Until someone sees someone else make money that way, they're not going to take that chance.
I know. So it really bothered me how much Harvey was just sitting there spouting, basically giving us foreshadowing for his entire character during that dinner, where he's
with
just,
one of the weirdest lines in the entire fucking film. Screw nice coat. Goes as much as I hate that. How does it go exactly? You
either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Okay, here's the thing. If I sat here and gave you 5 minutes of just open forum and you tried your best, there's no possible way you can make that sentence make sense. It does not happen. It's a snake eating its own tail.
No, I think it makes perfect sense. I just think it's a little too deep and weighty for him to just nonchalantly, spew at dinner one night with his girlfriend's ex. I mean...
No, I mean, as far as dinnerware, I could get behind any kind of philosophy you want to pull out. Apparently, no matter what you do at dinner, it's not going to matter because you can buy a fucking hotel while you're there, and no one blinks an eye. So, whatever, fine, keep that. But what I'm going to have problems with is the sentence itself makes no damn sense. It really doesn't. You either die early or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. It's one of those things where it sounds okay if you think about it when you first hear it, but then think about it. Why?
I have thought about it.
Yeah, why? What is it that you're referring to in this sentence that makes it so damned certain that you will that if you live long enough you will become a villain?
I think they were referring to Caesar, but yeah, you either die the hero or you are a hero for so long that you gain so much of a following and that you gain so much power that you wind up becoming a villain because absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Sure, but that's not at all what that implies to me. To me, that gets into the headcanon argument. Is they're just trying to take it for read that anyone in this town will eventually become corrupt, which is fine. That's actually part of what makes Gotham as a city work on paper. But
no, it wasn't that deep. They were foreshadowing. That's all it was. It was foreshadowing for him to become Harvey.
See, that's what ends up bothering me about it a lot. That's all it really is foreshadowing. I mean, it's a thing that sounded good on paper that really doesn't express what you actually wanted to express. Its true purpose is to sit there and give you an idea of what's about to happen in the rest of the film. And there were better ways to do it. I hated that line.
Yeah.
Because he could have pulled out absolute power corrupts absolutely, and it would have made more sense. And you didn't have to try to come up with your own phrase.
I'm not saying that it was the best line ever, but it made sense to me.
I didn't.
In fact, I'm complaining about the entire thing. Like, why the hell was he even sitting there talking about that anyway? Unless Harvey had something going on. But they don't go into Harvey's character. Like, he's a bulldog. He wants to take down all of these mobsters. He's got a fire lit under his ass.
Great.
And
why?
Then exactly. When the shit comes down, he goes a little nutty. He starts capturing people who might be involved in shit. He's flipping coins. We don't know why. They never explain why. Suddenly he's talking about chance.
They give the coin actually a pretty decent backstory in the film. I mean, he keeps using the coin. He keeps using the I make my own luck. And then there's the scene that, I know. But there's the scene though where when he's in the hospital and he sees the coin and you can tell for just a second he hopes that somehow this was a dream, and then he turns it over and it's blackened, and he knows damn well what happened to Rachel. Which I thought looked good. I wanted to know who the fuck put that coin in his hand.
Batman did. Do you not remember?
No, is it Batman? What? Why would you do that to the poor guy? Like what? Oh yeah.
Yeah. No.
Oh, you could just see it.
Okay.
Oh yeah. When you wake up, I want you to remember that your girlfriend got blown up,
dude.
Lest you forget.
Rachel had the coin.
Yeah, he had flipped it to her.
Right. She got blown up.
It's in the records when she got blown up, and then there it went.
Batman, who did not know that she had the coin, had no way of knowing that she had the coin, somehow finds it in the rubble.
Of course.
So he goes like, oh, look, one side is all clean and the other side is black. I'm going to go make a supervillain.
Right.
And goes to the hospital and quietly places it on the table beside Harvey while he's in the... No part of that is okay.
Not flowers, not sorry for your loss. Nope. Here's a bold, blazoned reminder that everything you've loved is gone. Just in case.
Yeah. In case you wanted to know what happened.
Right. It'll be nighttime.
The woman you love is dead.
It'll be daytime when you wake up, and I'll be Bruce then, so I won't be here to tell you.
It's a terrible thing.
It was a weird moment. The thing, though, it's so much of the Two-Face stuff is a little weird like that, and you could try to get nitpicky about it, but Eckhart does such a damn good job that I swear you have to sit here and rewatch this movie to get past his performance to get to the nitpicky stuff.
Yeah.
I don't need. He blew me away. The actors, the villains in this film were fucking phenomenal. Wouldn't have minded more backstory though. I really wouldn't have.
No, one thing that really bothered me is like at the fundraiser. Well, first of all, I don't know how Bruce still has friends after that.
Big
rant.
Big weirdness for me.
Whatever.
Why does he still how can he still get that room full? And then let's assume that money is the answer to that because he has money.
Yeah.
And then even still,
and he's not even campaigning. That seemed a little weird to me that he was like, I'm not campaigning, Bruce. And he was like, the election isn't for another 3 years. And he's like, with the help from my friends, you'll never have to throw another fundraiser again.
Right. I mean,
okay.
Sure, he's going to go create his own little super PAC somewhere. That's fine. And I'll give him this. If you're going to run for an office, you probably should start collecting funds about 3 years off. Because the 2 years right up until it, you're not going to have time to do any more fundraising. But
no, fun bit for me, though, was Harvey goes into that fundraiser and he says to Alfred, any crazy ex-boyfriends I should know about? And Alfred says, oh, you have no idea.
Right. Which is still inaccurate. At no point
Bruce was
are Rachel
never
and
her
Bruce
boyfriend
and girlfriend.
Never.
Yeah. It never happens. They have 2 poorly timed kisses and an arrowhead between them. The rest of it is a bunch of fuzzy memories of some girl he used to play chase with when he was so young that they hadn't even really worried about cooties yet.
Oh man!
And the whole franchise revolves around how much he wants to impress this girl, and then how much he's destroyed after she's gone, and then eventually it culminates in how quickly he forgets her when he met Selena.
Oh, I promise this is the last time I'll talk about this. At dinner, Dent doesn't just tell us that he's going to be a bad guy later. He expresses the entire concept behind Nolan's trilogy. He tells us how it's going to end in Dark Knight Rises.
Yep.
He talks about how the hero doesn't, like Batman, he's sure that Batman doesn't want to be a hero. He wants to pass his mantle on. He doesn't want to do this forever. And it keeps cutting to Bruce looking longingly at Rachel and shit. How did we miss this? How are we so disappointed with Dark Knight Rises? We should have seen it coming the entire time.
No, the plot wouldn't have been bad. Like, everything he says at that table's fine.
No, it's not. Because in this entire movie, Bruce is going on and all he's doing is looking for a way out of being Batman. He has been Batman for
I know, but by the end of the film, what you have is that there's no way he can quit. He has to keep doing it. And there's a whole speech at the end about how much they need him. And when we left this film, the reason we were so excited about the one that was going to come was because they had wrestled with that idea that he could quit, and he found out wholeheartedly that was not going to happen.
Yeah, when this movie ends, we still have the concept that, this might be like a Mask of the Phantasm situation where he realizes, he can't have a normal life. He can't be the person that he
You're still waiting to
be
see him double down.
Inside.
And really completely commit. But it just
someone should have handed Gordon a note and said he's not a vigilant protector,
right?
Because as soon as he drives back to the mansion, he hangs it up,
right?
For 8 years.
Yeah, and we can do a skip to the end here, and just this is one of the biggest problems with it is between the films. We'll get into this with Dark Knight Rises, obviously, but between the films, he apparently he leaves on the Bat Pod, dogs and whole squads chasing him, and he just like you said, drives home. Apparently, somewhere I suppose he fucks up all of the cartilage in his knee on the ride home. By the way, but he.
Oh no, I thought he did that when he fell with Harvey.
Yeah, you can't mess up the cartilage that poorly and then still be standing a second later. I mean, it's
well, you can't just strap on a knee brace and make it magically go away either.
I know. The moment they brought up medical ailments in these films, it was a death nail. That was the dumbest damn thing they could have done. But he drives home and immediately quits. So Gordon's sitting there just waxing about how much they need him and how he's the hero, they blah, 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 blah. And then he promptly disappoints him in the most stern possible way. And the scene itself has any kind of flaws. Because your family, like right before that, Harvey's up there holding his entire family hostage. Both kids and the mom all have guns pointed at him. Harvey gets killed, so Gordon goes and, they jump down about 3 flights of stairs, I guess, which is something you pointed out, too, is apparently 2 stories is enough to break your knees, and 3 stories drop is enough to kill you so thoroughly that they don't even bother checking your fucking pulse.
Right.
Gordon and Batman
Maroney
are down
was
there,
dropped.
And at no point do they actually look to see if he's dead.
Right. Earlier in the movie, Batman drops Maroney off of like what seems to be 2 or 3 stories.
With the express purpose of only messing him up.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're not going to kill me with dropping me from this height. And Batman's like, I'm not trying to kill you. And then drops him.
No, he says, I'm counting on it, which is one of the actual good lines in the movie.
Whatever it was. I don't even remember the good lines anymore.
I know, you went into a very dark hole. We're going to have to give you a couple years to remember the movie more fondly than you do right now.
A very dark hole or a very dark cave?
Yeah, sure. We'll do that.
Not a bright white room with a console.
Right.
By the way, that cave was not messed up at the end of Batman Begins. The Batcave was still intact. I don't understand why they're not even there. Oh, okay.
Why they abandoned it? No, he did. It probably is the same exact fucking cave. He just used drop ceilings. He put up some sheetrock.
I wanted to look nice for when Rachel comes
Grab some Kills-All, put up a nice coat of primer.
Oh my gosh.
His elitist upbringing finally caught up to him, and he just went, you know what, this cave is just too dark. I have to do something.
All right, so as happens at Bruce Wayne functions, something goes awry. The villain shows up. Joker shows up and drops Rachel out of a window.
Of course.
Again,
everything Ledger's attached to ends up being either a good line or a good performance of a bad line at the worst. But Dropper, poor choice of words. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know how they fell that far and didn't. Now, see, that's the other part is you can fall what looks like about 22 stories and not even lose your breath. Like they're literally chatting with each other seconds later.
Right. And I'm just like, number one, how did they survive that fall?
No freaking way.
They
fell so hard that the cabbie that they fell on should have had his neck snapped by the roof of the car.
And all he noticed was something hit the roof of the car. He just looked surprised.
Right. And they're up there talking and chatting, and he's apparently still in the vehicle going, that was weird. No, you just landed on top of my car. I'm getting out. I'm calling police and other authorities. I'm yelling, what the fuck? And are you okay? And what the fuck? I have all kinds of questions. A lot of the questions end with the fuck. But I have a lot of things to say about this. I'm not going to sit quietly in my car while you two finish your little cozy conversation.
Right. And by the way, this completely implies that Christopher Nolan thought it was more realistic that they would fall off of the top of a skyscraper, land on the ground. He thought this was more realistic that they would survive that than Batman grabbing her midair and pulling out a grapple gun.
Yeah.
Why does Batman not have a grapple gun? He has it later in the movie.
No, he had it in the first movie. I don't know why he didn't have it there.
He had it in the first movie. Yeah, that is a thing that Batman has on his belt. He swings around the city for all the times that we see him. Like,
maybe they thought they should just be realistic with it finally and not,
Yeah.
Well, again,
he's hanging out on high precipice throughout the entire film, both films, and
he's fine. Now, don't get me wrong; it's strapped to his the utility belt that he uses is a rappelling device that actually does anchor to the back of his belt. I think it was, but it anchors to his belt. And yeah, I suppose if you're falling that fast and you suddenly had an anchor on your belt, then you and Rachel Dawes are gonna get all Gwen Stacy real quick. Lots of stuff's about to snap.
I'd much rather see an effort than, an effort that wound up unrealistically pulled off than just them falling onto a car. what are you gonna do, Batman? You guys didn't even like drop. You didn't even shield her from the fall because you're both laying side by side when that shot when we see you fall.
It did look like he landed on his back, and then she landed on top of him. Anyway,
Kind of.
physics be damned, though. Physics be
They'd be
damned.
dead.
Now,
Speaking of dead,
hold on though. This is something I started to mention.
okay, sorry.
With Gordon at the end of this movie, his family is threatened. He runs outside. His kid runs outside with him. Plucky little bastard, that one. And they immediately, he gives a speech. It's a, I call it a broner. He gives a speech it's very, he almost looks, what do you want to call here? Infatuated. It's a waxy speech about how amazing this guy is. But anyway, he's outside giving this speech. Presumably, this is seconds after. So presumably about 3 flights up, his wife and his other kid, the one he doesn't love as much as the blonde, are experiencing like PTSD levels of chaos in there. They're in there. They've just had guns pointed at their head. Dude, go back inside and tell your family it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and also maybe deal with that whole situation where you have to explain that you don't really love one more than the other.
Right.
But he was just
You've
getting
got a
more
lot of
angry.
explaining to do to the little brunette child. I mean, a lot of fucking explaining to do. Like, because when the time came, literally at gunpoint, you found out that your dad doesn't love you as much, even though he says he does. Look, that needs to be addressed. I don't know. Just plain does. And the kid that he picks, by the way, is a little asshole. As evidenced by this, go back and watch the film and look at every scene that kid is in. He never addresses his father. He never says anything about him. He never says anything really to Gordon. All you hear the kid actually say at any given time is stuff about Batman. The kid only cares about Batman. Like, the first time you hear him, it's this snarky little, did Batman save you again? And he almost does say it like, oh, did Batman save you again today? He's a snarky little prick. And Gordon defends himself. No, actually, today I saved him. Well, great. Good for you. The kid doesn't even get excited about that, though. He's like, yeah, finally. Fucking pulling your weight, Dad. I wish Batman was my real daddy. Like, he has that little scene there, and then later, the first thing he asks him is, even then, after, like, apparently the kid abandons his mom and his brother as well. This is Jimmy Gordon. It will, if they had followed the story the whole way through, it turns out he's a psychopath and a serial killer. So I can believe that. But he apparently abandons the rest of his family too. Comes downstairs and immediately asks, "Is Batman okay?" This kid seriously doesn't care about anything his dad's up to. He's a little dick. Apparently,
well, to be fair to little Jimmy, up until the point Batman showed up, his dad was nothing but a coward anyway. Was led around, probably came home and complained about how corrupt things were, and he probably heard his fair share of fights where his mother was going like, "Well, why don't you do something about it?" And he's like, "Who's there to rat to? City like this, who's there to rat to?" Yeah,
he doesn't have much hope. And
then one day,
film,
a magical thing happened.
Get,
a man named Batman showed up. A man named Batman showed up, and suddenly his mommy was proud of Daddy. Right. Because Daddy helped Batman.
Right. But it wasn't enough for young Jimmy. It wasn't enough for Jimmy that his dad was the only person in Gotham that Batman trusted. Nope. He wanted Batman himself to be his dad.
Well, in Jimmy's mind, Gordon is the only one weak enough to... that Batman chose him because he was weak
to just kowtow to this bastard. Is that
if this is the Jimmy Jr. from the comics, he would have that thought. Like, well, of course he's using my dad. My dad's easily manipulated.
Right. Yeah, that's the real story here. What was going to happen to that kid if the Dark Knight hadn't risen?
I believe he's going to be a problem for Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, one day.
One day.
Now, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's going to have plenty of problems, mainly cleaning up this city that Batman abandoned.
Right. Well, it would have been his problem if the radiation didn't kill everyone.
Right. That should cull the herd pretty well.
So,
it really should.
I don't know what I've gone over all this.
Oh, now something with Harvey that disturbs me the whole time is, don't get me wrong, that it looked good. It really did. Mm-hmm. It looked good, but it was, he chose to forego the skin grafts and leaves the hospital. The rebel left the hospital. I bet he didn't even sign his AMA papers.
Right.
Just heads off into the night.
Well, he wanted to, but the hospital was blowing up, so
no one was there to proffer him the paperwork, I'm sure. But It's good that he died anyway, because walking away from that kind of injury with no kid, he was going to be Harvey Gangrene in like 3 weeks.
He's over at Home Depot buying like sealant.
Right.
Just
he wasn't going to last long.
Went to the art store, got some of that, gloss that you.
And it annoyed me anyway, because come on, the acid was better, and it didn't mean you had to. Okay.
Yeah. Now, it seems to be a trend in Batman movies. In this movie, so close after Batman began, Joker's threatening to kill everyone in the city if he doesn't show up and say that he's Batman. So Bruce just, okay, I'll stop being Batman. Like, he doesn't even really consider it. He's just like, okay.
It's the first really good excuse that's come along, and he's excellent.
Yeah, apparently what ending being Batman entails is that he, based on this movie, he takes like a folder and some photographs and throws them into a small kindling fire.
Mm-hmm.
And he and Alfred turn out lights. That's what it is. Like
he lovingly caresses a batarang one more time, and then
like Rachel's pissed off because Harvey turns himself in. I love that she's like mad and goes to Alfred and she's like, Bruce just let Harvey blah 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 blah. I just wanted Alfred to go, no ma'am, he was fully intending to do that, but he even burned his paperwork.
Right. Just, Rachel, I don't know what to tell you. We turned out all the lights.
Right.
What more could we do?
We turned out lights. I don't know what else you want from us.
Maybe you call up Anthony Michael Hall and tell him who you are.
So,
call up, by the way, the worst news outlet I've ever seen in my life, in any portrayal of news ever. This may be the dumbest thing I've ever damn seen. Like, or at the very least, the most irresponsible news outlet. Why would you ever air the Joker's little terrorist videos? No one would actually put that on screen.
Yes, they would.
No, they would. Not the whole damn thing, including him. No, there's no freaking way. Like, that'd be one of those things that you would hear was out there, and you'd have to scour the internet and hope for somebody on 4chan to finally put it up.
Okay. Cop convoy scene where they're taking Harvey. By the way, oh my God. Oh my God. Right before they leave, right before Harvey leaves on that cop convoy, he realizes Gordon's alive. Gordon has, faked his own death and everything. Mm-hmm. So he realizes Gordon's alive. He says, Gordon, you do like to play things close to the chest.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, wait a minute. They're calling back the wrong dialogue. At no point in this movie did Gordon ever tell Harvey that he liked to play things close to the chest. In fact, it was freaking Bruce talking to Morgan Freeman. It was Bruce talking to Lucius Fox about why because Lucius is like, hey, why did you sanction off R&D for your own nefarious purposes or whatever? And Bruce is like, I'm going to play this one close to the chest.
Yeah. I'm almost sure that's vest, but now I've heard it so many times I can't remember.
It's chest. It is chest.
No, I mean I'm almost sure it's supposed to be vest, but
it's supposed to be vest.
At this point, I've gone into one of those holes where if you say a word too many times, it loses meaning, and I can no longer remember the semantics.
But yeah, that was
look, they do
weird.
have a conversation when they do have a conversation early on. I can't remember if he actually says the phrase, but they're talking. It's the same conversation I think where they're talking about the searchlight that's a little broken. Are you sure they don't say close to the chest there?
I am pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure.
I think it's there.
But if that is there, then they are saying that phrase way too much in this movie.
Well, sure.
Either way, they're wrong.
Yeah.
By the way, so this cop convoy scene is one of the worst action scenes I've ever seen. They're constantly breaking the 180 rule. They're like, I don't know what direction Harvey's sitting in the van, because he's sitting in like the right side of the van, the right-hand side of the van when he takes off, and then they switch the camera angles. So like when you see someone like hit him from behind, you see Harvey like jolting forward like he's just gotten hit from the back. Like, it is some of the worst physics I have ever seen in a chase scene.
Well, no, that's not true. I've watched the scene from Bullet and the 18 hubcaps that fall off it.
Okay. Bullet, starring Steve McQueen, was like the first one to do that.
I know.
Like the chase scene. So let's just get that out of our systems right now. I loved every hubcap.
Right. Now, I can only say this to defend that scene, because I do believe it went on a little long. I do. But they were shooting in IMAX for that scene, and they got all excited.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's a little too long on the when it's actually on Will's portion.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care what side of the van he's on. I really don't. That was fun. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, especially with the like the magic cop cars.
Yeah,
they're never actually like fluid with how many cop cars are supposed to be there. Like, it's
nope.
like,
But I actually thought that was more realistic than anything. It's not like you say chase scene starting and 18 cops show up magically. No, they all come in from their different beats and join the race at different times. I actually can deal with that part. I liked the scene, except for the length. Just sheer the length. That's the real problem. And the reward at the end of that scene was so good, I immediately forgave everything I had seen that I didn't like. Because the Joker's standing there in the middle of the street doing the come on, I want you to do it. I want you to hit me. Fucking perfect.
Batman couldn't have just run into him and broken his legs.
Right, yeah, and I don't get me wrong. I think he probably could have swung the back of that thing against like the side of his knees and done the city a lot of good. But the Joker though killed it in that. Just fucking killed it. No, that's exactly the Joker I want. It's exactly the kind of guy I want. Because he does, and they do a good job with this one part. Is the reason everyone loves that dichotomy so much is, Batman can never kill him. He does have the one rule, as they point out, and it would be the culmination of his life's work if Batman finally did kill the Joker.
Right,
the joke would be on him.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to have to move on. I don't even know.
I don't know. I disagree about how fun the scene was. I think is the result of it.
I was aggravated with how much Batman destroyed public property.
Yeah, but I'd gotten so used to it by this point in the series that I didn't even care anymore.
I was aggravated that he's like riding at the Joker and screaming on his little motorcycle, and then he just wimps out and drives into a pile of bricks. Just like, oh my god, you're so lame, Batman. So
and he had just
lame.
done that really cool thing against the wall where the bat pod turns around.
Like, you don't have all that fancy army arsenal that Lucius has created for you. You don't have a bat bola. You can't just drive at him and miss him on purpose and shoot him with a little bat bola and wrap his legs up.
He did. He had a very large version of that, and he had just used it to flip the truck.
Yeah, I know. See, that makes it even worse. You just flipped a freaking truck, and instead you can't do something similar with the Joker. You're gonna drive into a freaking wall. What the hell, man?
I assumed it was too emotional, and then he just lost track.
Batman is supposed to be disciplined, too disciplined. Unless this guy just killed Robin.
But haven't we discovered it? Or haven't we discussed over and over again? This is not that Bat.
I know, and I'm holding it against it every instance.
I know. They did the classic mistake. They put Bruce Wayne in a Bat costume instead of putting Batman in a Bruce Wayne skin.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mistake you make every time. And this franchise was no different. They still decided that Bruce Wayne was the real guy. That's where you've already fucked up at that point.
By the way, the whole Coleman Reese thing,
pretty great. The conversation he has with Lucius, freaking great.
Yeah, that was fun. I felt like it was just Nolan. I feel like Nolan sat down one day and was thinking, why has no one in Wayne Industries realized that Bruce is using all these funds? And just wrote that in.
I don't know if he sat down one day and thought about that so much as sat down and looked at the comment sections on some of the Batman Begins reviews.
Maybe.
Because there were a lot of questions about that.
So the hell did, without Lucius helping, when the hell did Bruce build that sonar machine?
I don't fucking know. I don't know. Your best hope is that he sent off all of the pieces to be built separately, so no one realized what they were doing, and then put it together himself later. But short of that, I don't fucking know. How does he reprogram an autopilot later? I don't know. So he has magical, impressive technical skills whenever the film desires it.
Yeah.
That he doesn't completely earn. That's the whole point of having Lucius in the role that he was in, was that Batman can focus on, knocking the shit out of people.
All right, so Joker's got bombs on these two boats.
Yep.
When did he put all that dynamite on those boats? When the hell did he get all that dynamite in the hospitals?
There's a lot of leeway for that. We're going to have to go into headcanon that you're not comfortable with. Same time, I ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have the headcanon where you have to assume that Joker had time to go at least get his minions to plant a couple of boats? Because see, the bombs on the boats, that's not too bad. That's 2 bombs and 2 triggers and then 1 master trigger. That's it. For
Yeah.
him, that's
And
a pretty
people are-
simple scheme.
And people are wasting time writing names on pieces of paper, and took time to count votes.
Actually, that was one of the problems I had. Even watching that film the first time, on the I think it's on the we'll call it the good people vote. You have that that guy that just, man, he looks like a mariner if I've ever seen one. Tall guy. He finally calls out the votes, and it's like 454 and 100 something against. I forget what the numbers are, but there's like 500 or 600
like almost
people.
400. Yeah.
It's like 400 and 500 people on this boat. And my first thought was, no, I saw the wide shot. That boat's capsizing. Who the hell do you think you are? And did you really have time to like go around and count 450 freaking votes?
Right.
Like, how did you develop a voting system that quickly that would be functional for this? It would have taken you longer than the minutes you had. What was it, 30 minutes they had, or 20 minutes, 15 minutes? It would have taken you longer than that to simply find a notebook and tear up 450 sheets of paper for everyone to use to vote. They would have been a lot better off. Just, I mean, if we're talking, you got to make a vote like that. You do the, can I have the ayes? Can I have the nays? You do a vocal vote.
Yeah.
Watching it the first time, I was all
Wrapped up in it.
Yeah, and I was so wrapped up in the social experiment of it, which was my favorite part of this whole movie, was the Joker being a madman. Like he would be like the world's greatest and worst social psychologist ever. And I was so wrapped up in that dilemma that I wasn't really paying attention. But the 400, that many people actually did pull me out. Oh, wait a second, hold on now. And had to go back to being wrapped up because it pulled me out completely. But God, I loved the social experiments part. Like they did the one of the great top 10 list of Joker schemes ever in the books is going to be No Man's Land, Babies, Sarah Essen. It's got to be. And that's what it is it's a giant social experiment. And for him, he usually sets things up where he kind of wins either way, which is, about the only way to survive if you're somebody like him. But they did a pretty good job of keeping that spirit alive in the film. I fucking loved that part.
All right, so the scene where Batman goes in, like Gordon's got a bunch of SWAT guys coming in, Joker's got people in, taken hostage. I actually wrote down, sonar awesome. My Batman would have no moral qualm using this.
He would if it was basically a hyperactive version of the Patriot Act to do it. I don't think.
I also wrote, in this scene, Bats uses a grapple gun. I wish the dogs were hyenas.
I do wish the dogs were hyenas. Whoever made this film really is not a dog person.
Right. And then last thought, Batman gets tangled in net?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got razor sharp gauntlets.
Yeah.
And he's getting tangled in nets.
In
and
the
he's
previous
just flailing.
film, your gauntlets split Raja's sword in 2.
And now he's in a net, and he's just flailing.
Just
flailing.
He really did. You ever like taken a blanket and like tossed it over your dog and just watch the dog try to figure out how to get from under the blanket?
Yeah, it's worse than this. And it wasn't even a net that the Joker threw over him. He like stumbled into it.
Right.
And then he can't get out. Like, oh no, what's happening? What's happening? And I can only imagine that in his head he was like, it's bats, no, please, no.
You know what? You know how I explained it? This is my genuine explanation for that. Did you see how many times the Joker just hit him in the head with a pipe?
Right.
He's a little woozy, man. He probably does
Right.
think the net's a bunch of bats.
Right. I mean, I guess his little sonar was kind of going in and out, but then again,
Well, that was the other big
He
problem.
doesn't
Is
use
he
sonar
really
most of
he
the
didn't have
time.
any. He didn't know which version of his eyeballs to trust at that point. I mean, yeah, he's dazed
Right.
and confused, and I get it.
so jumping
it just
back.
looked silly as all hell.
Yeah, jumping back, I want to point out that Ledger did do a good job. He did a really good job as the Joker. The Joker, he's not my Joker. My Joker's a little funnier and a little more sick.
Mm-hmm.
And for as much as, Ledger, I think you were saying this the other day too, it was like, for as much as like Ledger's Joker said he wasn't a planner or a schemer, he sure did have a lot of plans.
Yeah,
this plan seemed to work out perfectly.
Let me see.
And
I
we're
actually
dependent
bothered
on a lot
I tried
of
to list
variables.
this. I really did try to list this. It was planning fingerprints, grenade escapes, prison escapes, false IDs, simultaneous poisonings, car bombs, and party assassinations, hospital bombings, maritime death traps, Batman exposures, blackmail schemes, and more. Lots of planning for a despiser of schemers.
Right. Like,
that's not even the whole list. That's before I got tired of writing things down.
And it's impossible. There's no way he could have, because apparently he wanted to get caught. When he got caught, he wanted to get caught. He knew he was going to get caught. He planned that he was going to get caught. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had the dude with the cell phone in the jail cell. Then he had to have known that Batman was going to show up in the interrogation at a certain point. Mm-hmm. He had to know that he was going to like fool them and get rid of Gordon and Batman to go get Harvey and Rachel, so that he could slowly and meticulously goad this dude into brutalizing him, so that he could pull a knife on the dude and demand his phone call.
I didn't pull a knife. He pulls a shard of the glass that was broken when Batman throws his head into it.
Right. So he had to know that Batman was going to do that. He had to know that when he was going to be actually like get this dude under his little shard of glass, so that he could make the appropriate phone call at just the right time. Right when he had to know when Batman and Gordon were going to show up at those places, because he told Batman you can only save one, essentially. So
he didn't have to know when they were going to show up. God. He basically starts the ticker about then. Here's the way I kind of read it when I watched it the first time, and here's the only way I can think of to take out some of that schemerism. He doesn't necessarily have to. I think of him as someone who had backup plans just in case, but ones that wouldn't ruin his original plan either way. So like putting the bomb in the guy's stomach. You can put the bomb in the guy's stomach. You can get him arrested, and you can get him arrested in the precinct that you are most likely to end up at. That part's actually not too hard, but the getting the phone call, I admit, is a problem, because he does have to pretty much plan on the fact that he's going to be able to get that phone call one way or the other. But at the same time, all he has to really do is plan for the fact that someone is going to be in the room with him, and that he can make a hostage situation out of it when he has to. So say he doesn't get caught. Say he just captures Batman on that long car chase. Doesn't get caught, doesn't get killed, none of that. He's actually just free. Well, he still just blows up a precinct for no good reason, and he'd think that was a fine. Yeah. Whatever, just a fine aside. But if he ends up there like he needs to, then the plan works. If he doesn't, then whatever. Blow up a precinct Tuesday. If he gets in there, all he has to do is plan on there being that one guy in the room with him that he can manipulate. And all he's really doing is betting on two things. One, he can manipulate the guy's emotions, which is probably pretty accurate if you're the Joker. And two, that he's going to be able to, overpower him, which apparently isn't that crazy. Hell, something they mentioned, they didn't have a real story for the Joker. They didn't have a backup for him, or a backstory for him.
Right.
And they did some nods to the multiple choice thing. But when they were writing the Joker, when they were kind of conceptualizing this version of it, one of the ideas they had hanging around there that they were really fond of was that he was actually a former, he was a veteran, that he had been overseas and actually seen some action and came back with PTSD and this anarchic look at life, which I guess is how we get to the idea that he's actually a decent hand-to-hand combatant for even Batman. I'll give him this. Dude can take a punch. I end up, every time I've watched this movie, I've sat there and, like, first time to the last time, I've sat there and marveled over, man, I'll tell you what they got right. The Joker can get hit, and he can get it well.
Yeah.
Every story I've ever loved, he knows how to take a hit.
Oh, man.
I was willing to consider a lot of it, I guess, as, I don't know. Maybe he put a lot of things in motion, and if it worked, it worked.
Yeah, there's so much here that we haven't talked about. Jeez. Just like when Harvey is interrogating the dude that has the Rachel Doll's name tag on it. Mm-hmm. When exactly did Batman figure out where that guy was? Like, how does he know where Harvey is? Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know. Here, I'll give you an explanation. Ambulances, any ambulance is probably going to have a GPS on board. He stole an ambulance. Probably wouldn't be too hard to track it.
All right.
LoJack. That's the answer I give you. LoJack.
Oh, when Joker has those two goons shoot those wires across the wires across the buildings to stop that helicopter. How did he know which route the helicopter was going to take? Because they don't take the same route every time. Like, he had no way of knowing which way they were going.
What do you mean? The helicopters?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. They were following him. All he has to do is lead him through that alley at some point. And he does. He makes them reroute their original. Well, they have a route plan from that precinct to the what is it? A jail they're going to? Another. I think it's just a between precincts run or something. And they have a route planned, and he immediately makes them take the lower road. He immediately reroutes them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're the one, in the other car with the bazooka, you can do a pretty good job of making sure somebody turns a certain way.
I don't buy it.
I know. You're not going to buy any of these things. I'm just going to try anyway.
Here's a fun one. When Two-Face is, he's deciding everyone's fate essentially, with like by flipping his coin.
Mm-hmm.
It's between Batman himself and Gordon's son.
Mm-hmm.
Why does he flip for himself next? Like he flips for Batman. Batman loses. He shoots Batman. Then he goes for himself next. He puts the gun to his own head second.
Mm-hmm. I got nothing.
How does that work?
They don't like.
If he can't flip the coin for the third time. If he loses, he's dead. I guess that just. Oh.
I don't remember when he, in that conversation, sets up the idea that he's going to have to possibly put himself on the line. Now,
it was
they do it all the time. It happens in the books all the time that he flips a coin for his own life. That's a real thing. But that's fine. You didn't bait me at all for that.
Well, the thing was, he said all three of us were guilty. He was already going to punish Gordon's son for what Gordon did.
But it made it sound like he was going to kill Gordon's son. Period. That's happening.
Yeah. Well, no.
Or at least he's going to get flipped for him.
Because he was going to get flipped. He was going to flip for Gordon's son, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he flipped for Batman. Batman loses. He shoots Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes for himself. Flips for himself. He wins, so he doesn't die. Then he flips for Gordon's son. And before he could shoot Gordon's son, Batman throws him, or basically kills Two-Face.
Right.
But if that had turned out poorly, he would have shot himself, and his son would have never had the chance to have that flip.
Right. So that's the confusing part. Is even if he had decided that he was going to flip for Jimmy here, that's fine. But he still would have had to get to Gordon anyway. He doesn't give you a real good excuse for why he's flipping for himself. That's just, it's not in there. Don't waste your time.
I don't have a problem with him flipping for himself because he was guilty. He said they all three were guilty. But
right, but he doesn't tell you why he's going to have to do it in that order at all. It would seem like he'd flip for Jimmy, and then
except he's like really bad at threes. He's only good at twos. He's really bad at threes. He just forgot that he would not be able to flip that coin if he was dead.
All right, if you do that right, it's one of the best versions I've seen. Like Arkham Asylum, that's what they do. Is Dent's so obsessed with dichotomy that he can't trust they make it an OCD thing, which is fucking great.
I could have used something else for Harvey and why he became the way he became. Because
you would have wanted more backstory. That's all you wanted.
You're telling me that the two best men in Gotham, one of them quit being Batman and the other one became a supervillain because Rachel Dawes died? I don't buy that at all.
Yeah,
I don't buy that at all.
I don't either. But as we've said a million times, we're proponents of the double down theory. When bad things happen to good people, if it's the right kind of person, and if it's the hero you really deserve right now, that person will go off his fucking nut, killing everyone that was involved.
Now, it's fine if you do it for one character, but they portrayed Harvey Dent to be such a white knight in this movie.
The best of us.
And they did such a poor job of showing like the few times that he went unchained. Like just at the thought that she might be in danger, he goes nuts and starts interrogating a dude who Batman has to come in and be like,
talk him off the ledge.
He's schizophrenic and he has all sorts of problems, and you're not going to really get anything out of him. So maybe put down the gun and the weird coin that I should probably be paying more attention to.
You always seem to have. They set that whole thing up, and it ends up being one of the more disappointing thoughts when you focus too long on the movie. And there's a whole bit at the end of the movie where he says sometimes people don't deserve the truth, sometimes people deserve more. That whole speech. It's during the time when he's just kind of waxing on about his new bra. But during that time, let me start that thought over. He's trying to they're setting him up to be the White Knight, but it becomes obvious as they're trying to do that he's not really that good of a person. And then that effort, it starts as what a good guy, then it starts as it becomes no, he's still a good guy, but that was a really bad call. And after a while, it's just we're going to pretend the whole thing didn't happen because this went all sideways on us. But it's just false hope. That's it. That's all. Like the point of the movie at the end of it was that they've created this elaborate illusion of what is false hope. And how is that the fucking point of a Batman film?
You know what? That is a great term. That's a great phrase for every Christopher Nolan Batman movie.
Every trailer you saw.
An elaborate illusion. You think it is you think it is a brilliantly plotted, wonderfully, masterfully crafted movie. Most people think that until you realize that logistically there's no reason or way that most of this shit should be even happening.
I don't have to have the logistics on a lot of it. I can do the whole headcanon thing and be happy. The logistics largely don't bother me. I thought it was actually, compared to a fair amount of action movies, it was actually even tight compared to a fair amount of them.
See, I don't even think it was tight. They threw so much shit at you that you couldn't see the seams.
Well, that's one of the problems people had was you kept thinking, I remember thinking this in the theater was, man, how is that previous scene not the climax? Like, why is this movie still happening? They're setting up another whole thing. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, hey, look over here, it's Harvey Dent. Hey, look, it's Lau. Hey, look, it's Maroney. Hey, look, it's this stupid guy who figured out that Bruce is Batman that I can't remember the name of it now for some reason. Look over here is Rachel. Look over here is she's got a note. Look over here, Alfred's crying about something. Oh wait, no, he's not in the next movie. Look over here is
look, my list got out of control. Never mind.
Look, it's Gordon and the shitty kid. Look, it's his wife who, for some reason, doesn't question the fact that they won't let her see the body. Look, it's
yeah. She went back to her day pretty quickly, and then I did like when he comes back. He starts to try to explain himself, and she just kind of waves the explanation aside, like, "You dick." I get it.
Yeah, she slaps him and then hugs him. Yeah,
right. That's actually about how that would go. I think I can only suspect, but I think
yeah,
because that's what would happen if someone I cared about showed up suddenly and had faked their death.
Well, she should have kissed him and then said, "This is a mask. This is not your face."
Right. That would have made it all better. Give him a hammer. We'll complete the scene. Look, the movie itself, man, I enjoyed. I really did. I still, watching it this time when I was letting myself get into, nitpicky mode, I still enjoyed the film.
Right.
I don't mind the logistics. The only two things I end up really minding about it, the big one is where it leads. But in this vacuum, the two things I ended up really, really minding are, one, it's a giant scheme built around false hope, and that's not any kind of theme I would have ever attached to a Batman film. Never would have come up to me. If you'd said we're going to do this, this, and this, and I realized, oh, you're trying to make okay, I would have shut that thing down in the early stages as no, that's not a theme you're going to explore in a fucking Batman film. But that one's only the half of it. One of my other problems was, as much as I love the and people constantly call him out on it, you have one rule, and he has no rule. And that's one of the greatest aspects of their back and forth is him just trying constantly to make him break that rule. But he totally breaks that rule at the end of the film. He kills Harvey.
Well, that's what Batman is saying. The Joker won.
We can't let
the Joker win.
No, he's saying the Joker won, but he's saying the Joker won about Harvey's downfall.
Right.
He at no point do they address the fact that Batman hits him so hard that he falls out of a window, and he's so sure that he's dead that he doesn't even check.
Well, Batman lands on top of him essentially,
right?
Doesn't he?
Like this is a deliberate act. He doesn't check. He doesn't try to save. Well, he does try to save him, I guess. But he hits him so hard he might fall out of the window. They all fall, or whatever it is, a ledge, whatever the hell it is. But he does. In the end, he does kill somebody.
Yeah, he does.
And yeah, the Joker wins, but it has nothing to do with Harvey.
Batman.
Yeah, he killed your childhood.
By the way, I like Christian Bale as an actor generally, but man, the voice got worse in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was with that mask, but he couldn't close his mouth.
And they actually adjusted that voice in post too, right?
That is awful.
Yeah. Not only
I don't even know how they did.
See, they completely mistook our whole double down concept.
like, why can he not close his mouth? It looks like he's wearing swimming goggles.
I don't know. It is always fun. It looks like it just pulls the top half of his. It just looks like it pulls his nose up so hard that it's pulling up the top flap of lip the entire time.
And every time he's talking, like, he keeps closing his eyes and just having his mouth open. It looks like it really does. It looks like he's got some sort of mental deficiency or something. I don't know what's happening. It does a little bit. And when he talks now, in this new mask, and I didn't notice it in the Batman Begins, but here, when he talks, it sounds like he's like a wheelchair-bound kid who needs oxygen. Like he's Stevie from Malcolm in the Middle. He's like, these people just told you.
Which would be fine if he was huffing for breath after he, takes down 12 guys. Okay, fine.
Right.
But you're not. You've not even broken a sweat under that suit. And you're just he was gasping.
Weird.
Gasping is what he was doing.
I'm like, I know that suit's probably heavy, man, but just put half of it on when you're just shooting close-ups, Nolan. Just like tell him to put just like the cowl on and like the shoulders.
Yeah.
Let Bale breathe so he can actually complete a sentence.
Right. It was weird. And I don't know that I've ever actually seen any kind of interview with any of these people that any of them have shown any remorse about the voice, which is remarkable.
It's amazing. Well, because they're still under the impression that they did a good thing.
Yeah, as evidenced by Bale, sitting and staring in space for 30 minutes when he realizes that Batman's been cast again. Okay. Yeah.
I wonder if he'll ever sit down and just watch the Batman v Superman and go, why isn't Ben breathing weird?
The big contribution that Bale will end up making to this new series of films will be his advice in a costume store to Affleck to make sure that he can piss with that suit on.
Right.
Damn good advice.
Oh, well, why isn't like I played it with gravitas. That's not gravitas. That's called COPD, Christian.
I'm just very engaged. No, you possibly have emphysema. I'm not sure.
That's called chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this Batman got it when he sniffed that blue flower.
Right. Oh, it was amazing.
Alrighty. I think we've picked it apart enough.
Now, I'll sandwich it by saying the same thing I did to begin with. I liked this movie. Sadly, this is what it sounds like when I like a movie.
This is the best possible. This is the best Nolan Batman movie for me.
It still may be
problems.
The best live action that's actually happened so far.
It might be. It might be the best.
As much as it has problems, it probably is and don't get me wrong, I think it's still fourth largest grossing movie of all time. People love this fucking film. And
yeah, it is.
I did
pound
too.
for pound the best live action Batman.
Yeah, oh yeah. And it did a pretty good job to in its time of carrying the weight for superhero films in general. Because the MCU was just budding really right then. And you look over and somebody's set just multiple records in a weekend, and it's pretty encouraging. Right. It did its part.
Yeah, it pulled its weight, and there were a lot of weird, ugly pieces to that rig, but it did pull its weight.
But it did its job. I mean, Ledger alone did as much for anybody. As far as comic book films go, his performance in this one did as much to help the cause as anybody else, I think.
Yeah.
It showed you could get somebody that was a little different and make a truly engaging villain. Something that, and I didn't think I'd actually come across anything that was better, but at this point it might be that DC is doing better with villains. Just Heath Ledger alone is a better villain than I think I've seen in any of the MCU.
Aside from maybe Loki, yeah.
Yeah, actually aside from Loki, you're right. But they did a better job with their villain. Now, don't get me wrong, you're working with Batman's rogues gallery here, so
yeah, you might as well just
you get this wrong, it's on you.
Yeah.
But
hello, Schumacher. How are you?
Looking at you, kid.
Don't give me those sad puppy dog eyes with a picture of the bat nipples. I know who you are.
Mm-hmm. See, we like him though. He showed remorse.
He did show remorse. Nolan, on the other hand, was taken aback that anyone would have the balls to do a Batman after him.
I know. And I'll give him this. David S. Goyer is another name that we've dragged through a pretty fair ton of mud. And
rightfully so.
And mostly rightfully so. But he did help develop Constantine, and we did enjoy that.
Yeah, his I have not heard David. No, hold on. I have heard. David S. Goyer's name is on that shit because they needed a big name on that shit. That's all he's there for. At no point during this entire debacle of whether or not Constantine was going to continue, whether it was going to be canceled, what was going to happen to it, whether Constantine was going to come back, I have heard nothing from David S. Goyer. David S. Goyer has said nothing about any of it. I have. The only person who talks about it is the dude whose name, Cerrone or whatever his name is, the showrunner, whose name I can't remember. Daniel Cerrone, I think his name is. He has been the constant in all of this. David S. Goyer, I don't think he really had anything to do with anything.
I have no idea.
Maybe that first
I
episode.
have legitimately
maybe he wrote that first episode,
zero idea.
That
I just
actually
know his name's
was
on the
kind of
credit.
bad. But we'll get into a Constantine review proper at some point soon.
Very, very. Well, no. Scratch that. By the time Dark Knight hits, we've already done that last week.
Oh, have we?
Yeah. Remember, it's the other order. You have it wrong.
I don't remember what order we're doing it in, but that'll be a thing. You can go back and at this point, if you're listening to this, go back and you want to hear that look, and it'll probably be there.
Yeah, that's about right.
God, we are DC on Screen. And we appreciate you listening to this very long review of The Dark Knight.
We hope you agreed and or disagreed.
You can find
It's important that
everything
you
we've
felt
done.
things.
You can find everything we've done on DCOnScreen.com. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Stitcher. We are a proud member of the Giant Size Team Up Network. And Matt and Jeff, the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, they're a part of the network too. You should go listen to them as well if you dig the Marvel stuff. We're going to take off. Until the next episode, just keep some of that DC on your screen, because we definitely will.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
See care in a new light at Madonna Rehabilitation Hospitals, where top medical minds lift you up, where the very best in specialized rehabilitation brings out your very best, where over 60 years of breakthroughs in research and technology spark your newfound strength. In our world-class hospitals, this is something greater than rehabilitation. It's renewed strength for life. Learn more at MadonnaRehab.org.